Berkeley, I was recruited on some student ship to be a camp counselor in upstate New York. And it was a place called Sharperoon, and it was run by something called the New York City Mission Society. And the kids who went there were from Harlem and the Lower Eastside, which meant then, as it would mean now really, that they were black or Puerto Rican, and they were poor. And the camp itself was in real woodlands about several hours north of New York City, and the kids didn't want to be there. They didn't want to be there because they hadn't come, in a sense, voluntarily. They lived in a place called Called Hall in New York City, and what it was sort of a cross between a group home, an emergency shelter, and a foster home. And so if your family had just totally blown, if there was nothing left, you would get stuffed in Called Hall. Kids from really about 7 or 8 until they aged out. And I didn't know much about it except their toothbrushes were black and would have etched in it property of the city of New York. I mean, did they sort of recycle it when the kids left? I have no idea, but that struck me so much that it was etched in there. And they also, so they knew they were in camp because there was nowhere else for them, and that place would close a number of weeks through the summer. And they were 3-week sessions. They also didn't want to be at camp because it was scary, it was creepy. You know, they were ultimate city kids. And so there were those trees, and there was that lake that had leeches in it. And then there were funny sounds at night. And then they lived in these cabins where you were bunk beds and just a canvas, you know, not a mattress, just a canvas thing. And it was just creepy for them, completely foreign. And we as counselors were just losers in their eyes, right? We all came from like these sort of enlightened or liberal left-wing colleges. Kids went to Worcester of Ohio and Oberlin, and then I was at Berkeley and all. And so we just didn't have what it took at all. We would try to do things like reason with them. And I was with the 13 and 14-year-old girls. There was a number of cabins, and it probably, I don't know that much, but reasoning with 13 and 14-year-old girls may not be the optimal interaction these days, but for them, they were used to being yelled at. They were used to having no choices. I shudder to think what they may have been really used to. And so we were just fools. The only thing that I had going for me was that I had the good hair. I had long blondish hair. And even if they couldn't stand me, they would be in the middle of screaming at me and then touch my hair and say, "Oh, you have a good hair." I could also dance. You may or may not believe it, but I could dance. Let me tell you, I could dance. And so there was one girl who wasn't exactly sort of a stranger, an outsider, but you know when you maybe go away to school or to camp or something, you can create yourself. You know, for that week, 2-3 weeks, you can create yourself. And so she had created her persona, and she called herself Lil Bit. I don't know where Lil Bit came from. It was a cartoon character or something, but she called herself Lil Bit. And at first, she did not warm hearts of the other girls. She was what you really, as a 13 or 14-year-old black girl in those days, would not want to be. She was tall and skinny. She had rather full lips. She had the hair that was hard for any of them to take care of, the nappy hair. And she was loud. And somehow or other, you weren't supposed to be loud. It was, you know, like, I don't know if it sort of made people a bad name or what, but she was loud. And so while, again, they didn't ignore her, she was not included much until one day. A few days into camp, into that 3 weeks, it rained. And when it rained, you could just stay in your sort of hall thing, and they had the 45 records, you know, the stack of records. And she was saved that summer by Diana Ross, because it was the summer of Diana Ross and the Supremes. And think of it, you know, baby love, my baby love, and will we ever forget, given our ages, stop in the name of love? Because look at Diana. She was tall, she was rangy, she had a wide mouth. They had to really work at her hair. She was kind of, you know, like, she didn't have really a very well-proportioned body, a little high in the hips. But she was Lil Bit, and Lil Bit was her. And Lil Bit knew every single song and every word, just totally, perfectly, of every Diana Ross and the Supremes record. And so when those records would drop down over and over, she just would lip sync superbly. And not only that, then she would get the girls, other girls up, come on, form a line. And sometimes she'd let them lead the other Supremes, you know. And then the moves, you know, again, the absolutely precision moves of the Supremes. She had them all down, and she was perfect. And so they just loved her. And so from then on, it was, hey, Lil Bit, come sit with us. Hey, Lil Bit, even in the lake with the leeches, you know, even come to that. You know, sit with us, have you know, they go on the camping outside, you know, you had to spend one night out in the woods. And they said, come sleep by us. Hey, put your sleeping bag in. And so for those 3 weeks, and really maybe the only time in her life, given where she came from, she was a very big Lil Bit. Thank you.